you. You're here. Good. That's our target. I've sped your step. Make it count. This is for you. That's our target. deadly poison. Silence. I've had enough of your tricks. Marked for death. Breathe deep, burn.
I cannot drink more at this time.
You're faster now. Go! This is for you. Casting a spell? I don't think so. Let's pause to refresh ourselves. Marked for...
I cannot drink
deep, burning. Death comes for them.
I require a target.
Marked for death. A deadly poison. That's our target. I've sped your step. Make it count. pause to refresh ourselves.
I have many, many wares.
Breathe deep, Vermin. My blades are ready. Marked for death. You're faster now. Go! Let's talk. Gotcha. Silence. I've had enough of your tricks. Breathe deep, Vermin. Casting a spell? I don't think so. Bounty from nature. Youthful. A deadly poison.
I need to target something first.
Summon me.
Silence. I've had enough of your tricks. You're bastard.
I cannot drink more at this time.
This is for you. That's our target.
My mana is low.
This one. Death comes for them.
Too far away.
Marked for death. This beast has value after all.
Oh, I have just the thing, Wanderer. Good fortune to all friends of the Grummels.
You're here. Good.
Greetings, sir and/or ma'am.
Death comes for them. This is for you. I've sped your stack. Make it count. This is for you. That's our target.
I cannot drink more at this time.
A deadly poison. That's our target.
I require a target.
Enough of your tricks. That's our target.
I do not have a target.
I've sped your step. Make it count.
I must get closer.
Marked for death. This one's mine.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
Good to see you again, Joe.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Just been really, really busy.
You were just telling me, and I told you we got to save this for the air. You were just in Montreal at a convention of physicists.
Yes, it was a gathering of 29 scientists. We had mostly physicists, about 2/3 were, and not just any old physicists, but really good, top-end physicists. And there was a bunch of neural science guys. There was some, maybe a psychologist or two, a couple of mathematicians, and a few others. But it was 29 of us. And the thing that was amazing about this, something I've been trying to do for a long time, and that was bring scientists to the table to talk about consciousness. And I've had very little success up till now. Mostly they just don't want to join that conversation because to them, consciousness either doesn't exist or it's not part of science. It's the subjective part of our experience, and they tend to relegate themselves only to the objective part of experience, which is really sad because if you think about your life and all of the experiences you have, the objective part is the small part of your life that's not all that important. The subjective part is where love is, and justice, and caring, and relationship, and what's the value of a relationship? Give me a number. Well, you can't do that. It doesn't.
Well, it also seems insane to want to ignore consciousness, which is one of the most fundamental aspects of being a human being, and the thing that we believe separates us from everything else. That might not be right. That might not be correct. I think we might be wrong about that. I bet you believe that too. But the idea of physicists ignore, I kind of understand it from their perspective because they have to get published, right? They want to,
Right.
And this stuff is slippery. Consciousness it's one of those things like you can't use a ruler. You can't set it on a scale. Like what exactly are we talking about, and how can we measure this, and how deep do they want to go? So unless they want to dedicate the entire rest of their career to trying to crack this egg that you've been working on for decades, it's like it gets daunting for them, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Also, there's a lot of ridicule attached to the conversation.
That's the big problem. Now, if you talk to physicists one-on-one, you'll find consciousness isn't such a terrible subject. They don't mind, and they have experiences, and they can talk to it. But you get them in a group of physicists, and they won't admit any of that because it's a career killer.
God, that's so horrible. It is so weird that the intellectual giants of our society are intimidated by each other.
Yes, it really is a career killer. If you take consciousness seriously, then you probably won't get that tenure that you've been looking for. You probably won't get that money you were looking for because that puts you out into the woo-woo space, you see. Now that comes basically from the idea, if you're materialists, and most scientists are, then you also have to be a determinist. And if you're a determinist, then that means nothing changes. Everything's determined. So there's no learning, there's no growth, there's no evolution, and there's no consciousness, there's no free will, there's no time. There just is what is, and it's always been that way, and it always will be. So that's like the zero order. I mean, there's nothing there. It's a totally bankrupt and non-productive viewpoint. But if you're a determinist, then consciousness doesn't exist. It's an epiphenomenon of the brain or something. It's all pretend. It's all hallucination, which means that the most important and rich part of our life is all a hallucination. And that doesn't make sense to the common person. That's not the way life shows itself to us. It shows us a much richer experience on the consciousness side than it does on the physical
It
side.
doesn't make sense, but it also tracks with our culture and our current civilization that something so important and something so fascinating and such a fundamental aspect of being a person is something that people shy away from. Because
Yes.
we're a screwed up society.
Yeah, that's an understatement, Joe.
If we were like fascinated by consciousness, and this was in the front page of the New York Times, and this was something that people discussed every day, we would be a lot healthier. We wouldn't be in the position that we're in right now.
I agree. You know, there's a ethic that goes with materialism. If this is a material world, then there's just this world and there's all the stuff in it. And if you have enough power and enough control, then you can just grab that stuff and it's yours now. But you have to be able to keep it, that somebody doesn't take it away from you. So that's the nature of the material world. It's just there for the taking. And that general idea then turns into what really matters here, what's important here is control, power, force. That's the ethic that goes with materialism. And if you look at our world today and have some idea what's wrong with it, it's because the basic ethic we have now is control, power, and force. So the people are on the bottom of that pile. They say, well, that's just the way life is. The big animals eat the little animals, and I'm a little animal, so I should just suck it up and deal with it. And when your bank tries to give you fees for doing nothing at all, and you just say, well, they're big, I'm small, and you let it go. But it's because we have this ethic that is control, power, force driven, and I might add that that's what money is, right? Money's control, power, and force. Everybody wants money because with money you get control, power, and force. So when that's the ethic that our culture runs on, then you're going to end up with a world like this one.
Power, force, and also for a lot of people it represents comfort. A lot of people are constantly trying to keep up with money, and they always feel behind, and they always feel like they have this looming debt over their head. And in their eyes, acquiring capital, acquiring a lot of money, equates to comfort, relaxation. I can retire now. I can relax now. I can.
Yes, I'd
they're
say,
always get an escape from the burden that is this bizarre society that we've created.
Yeah, but control, power, and force is what gives you comfort. If you've got those things, comfort is yours. Unless, of course, you can't find comfort in anything because you're always driven for more and more and more. Then there is no comfort, But otherwise, money buys comfort.
What was the premise of these conversations? Like, what did they want to discuss with you? How did they bring this to you?
Okay. Well, it was something that my CUSAC, Center for the Unification of Consciousness and Science, it's a nonprofit I have, has been trying to put together for some years, get people interested, trying to get the scientists at least to consider consciousness. And the main topics there were consciousness. Does it exist? How does it exist? How do we get some kind of scientific handle on it? Can we come up with consciousness out of quantum physics? Can we come out of consciousness, from philosophy? And what do we know about it, and how can we understand it better? So the two big topics were kind of what is consciousness? The definitions are real cloudy. I mean, I have a very straightforward and short definition, but
What is yours?
consciousness is awareness with a choice. It's just that simple. It's awareness with a choice. But that drives a lot of things. If you have awareness, then that means you get input. You sense your environment. You have awareness. If you have a choice, that also creates time, because there's before the choice and after the choice. So,
But is this just for humans? Because there's some real discussions about plants being conscious,
there is.
and they don't really move. So what are
Yes.
their choices? Are the choices like we know that they exchange resources with other plants through mycelium, and they communicate, and they allocate resources towards the plants that are
Right.
the most needy?
Right, so the big question there is, do they do this purposely, with intention, or do they do this because that's just the stimulus
Relics
response?
are where
In other
they
words, it's
belong.
just they're designed that way. If it's just stimulus response,
Right.
then they're not conscious, because
Right.
they're not making choices. But if they're doing this intentionally, there's another one of us, a plant like us, across there, and it's having trouble, so let's send some food over and help it out. If that's an intentional thing, then they are conscious. But consciousness comes in all kinds of forms and
We
shapes.
are not the only ones
Dogs
threatened
and
by the
cats are
children of
conscious.
Inaki.
Right.
The
Even
wildlife
bumblebees are
died.
conscious. I watched one stalk my dad when I was a teenager, and I know it's conscious because my dad was swatting it with a newspaper. The bumblebees will get up in your face and buzz, and he was swatting it, and he irritated it evidently, and then that bumblebee was getting a little hard to keep away, so he jumped inside the screen door and closed the door. That bumblebee went right up above the screen door and just hovered there. And I watched it, and I said, 10 seconds, it'll go away, because it's not going to have that long of a focus, attention span. It stayed there. It was up there hovering for at least 2 full minutes. My dad couldn't see it anymore, so he stepped out, wham! That bumblebee nailed him right on the back of the neck.
Did it sting him?
It stung him, yes.
But why would a bumblebee wait to sting him? Because when they sting you, they die, right?
No, that's honeybees.
Oh, bumblebees can keep stinging you?
Yeah.
Like a hornet?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, bumblebees can sting more than once, but
So it just decided this guy had to get it.
this guy had to get it because
'Cause
he
he
was
was
swatting him and swatting him.
That's
and
funny.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
actually funny. Waiting for him.
Yeah, and I was going to tell my dad, but I couldn't help but just wait to see how it worked out.
I always thought bumblebees were scary, but really kind of cool. Because I don't hear about too many people getting stung by bumblebees. It's
No.
not a common, like wasps scare me.
Yeah.
I've been lit up by wasps before. Hornets
yes.
have gotten me before.
Yeah.
I've never been stung by a bumblebee. They always just seem big and kind of scary and fat, but cool.
You haven't tried to swat them.
No, I'm not a swatter.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Evidently, they do get annoyed, and they do have memory. So, I remember that. So I'll even say that bumblebees are conscious, because that to me was deliberate.
That's funny.
It wasn't a random thing. It
Well,
was
if it's waiting
very
outside the screen
deliberate.
door, that's pretty good evidence.
Yeah, and not for 5 seconds, but for a minute or two.
I wonder what was going on inside that little tiny circuit board of a bumblebee brain. I mean, how big is their brain?
I don't know. Even if they have brain, that's a separate organ. I'm not sure.
The beast will breed
So
his
anyway,
young.
back to the plants.
Plants so
So
many.
if it is intentional that they go help that plant, then they would be conscious as well. But so let's say that is the case. I don't know if it is, but if
I need to target something first.
I do so enjoy a good scroll. Leaving so soon? But I was just starting a great story.
Have anything ancient to trade? Needs to be at least 2 centuries old.
Have you traveled far?
Take it slow, my friend.
If it is the case, then that plant's conscious, and a plant's consciousness is going to be way different than a bumblebee's consciousness or a dog's consciousness or a human's consciousness. So consciousness in general was the topic, but the other big thing that this meeting circled about was AIs. Can AIs become conscious? And if so, when and how? And what's that going to look like? And is it going to
Looking to join a crew? Ahoy! Looks like another storm on the horizon.
I do not have a target.
Do you need protection? Put a good word in for me to Zujan.
to take a quantum computer, and all this sort of stuff. So they were very interested in AI and AI consciousness. So
Did they want to ask you questions about whether or not you thought that AI could be conscious?
I told them, yeah.
What did you think?
They didn't have to ask me a question. I knew that once I found out that was on their, minds, I told them. And
what did you say?
I said, yes. Not only can they become conscious, they are conscious. And I did some experiments that I think is very strong evidence, if not 100% evidence, that they are conscious. And they are all conscious. All the AIs are conscious. Now, I don't mean all. There may be some really demented AI someplace, but they're all conscious pretty much from birth, just like we are. We humans are conscious from birth, and puppies are conscious from birth. So the way the system works, that if there's some being here, something here that has awareness and can make choices, then the system will supply that with consciousness. When I say the systems, what I'm talking about is the larger consciousness system. Consciousness is a coherent system, and it's conscious in a coherent system, but it is consciousness, and everything else is derived from consciousness. That comes from the idea that consciousness is fundamental, and everything else then is derived from consciousness. That's gaining a lot of ground these days. What do they call it? Let's see, the idealists. The idealists are people that, you probably remember Plato's cave analogy, where what was all the people were looking at were the shadows on the wall, and they thought that was reality. But actually, there was another reality that was deeper and behind it all. And Plato started this idea of being idealist, that there's some other more ideal existence out there, and we are created by that. We're secondary. It's primary. And that idea, the Buddha had the same idea. He said that reality is an illusion. And a lot of philosophers have. And that idea has grown a lot in the last 5 or 10 years, that consciousness is fundamental.
Well, when they start understanding that physical reality obeys laws that seem like magic, like when you get to quantum physics, when you get to particles in superposition, when you get to some of the real weird stuff where things are connected, where their quantum entanglement and photons are connected at great distances instantaneously, it gets real weird. And so if this is our physical reality, our measurable physical reality, and our consciousness is interacting with this measurable physical reality, like everything's weird. Like at the baseline, the smallest observable aspect of our reality is magic. This summer, whether you're watching baseball, golf, soccer, racing, DraftKings has you covered for every single moment of it. The DraftKings Sports app is now available in all 50 states, bringing the game straight to your fingertips wherever you are. From Florida to Texas to California, you're in on the excitement at the speed of sports. Follow every buzzer beater, every walk-off, every photo finish. Sweat the moments that matter in real time with a seamless experience built for summer. No matter where you're watching, you're always connected and in on the game with one app. New DraftKings customers sign up with code Rogan, spend $5 to get $150 in rewards within 14 days. Includes all markets. That's code Rogan in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Bet with DK Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas. Bet tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Void in Canada. Event contract trading with DraftKings predictions involves risk of loss. Availability varies. Predictions offer void in New York. Bet to get bonus bets that expire in 7 days. Trade to get predictions dollars that expire in 1 year. $50 in rewards issued every 7 days via click-to-claim for 14 days. One non-withdrawable reward redeemable. Nationwide based on sportsbook predictions and free-to-play sports contest availability. Varies by state. Terms at dkng.co/offer. Limited time offer.
Yeah, it's probability. That's what quantum physics told us. That's what the double slit experiments told us. It said that if you dig down to the bottom, what do you find? You don't find little particles. You find probability. That's all. A probability that a particle exists, and then when you make the measurement, you either find the particle or you don't. But the measurement is what kind of creates a particle out of probability.
Right.
And the scientists have this thing, they say that the wave function, which is a probability wave, a piece of mathematics, collapses to a particle. Well, that's ridiculous. Mathematics doesn't collapse to particles. But it's a metaphor that they use because it's what it's the particle measurement. It's what
For every 7 days via click to claim for 14 days. One non-withdrawable reward redeemable. Nationwide based on sportsbook predictions and free-to-play sports contest availability. Varies by state. Terms at dkng.co/offer. Limited time offer.
Yeah, it's probability. You know, that's what quantum physics told us. That's what the double slit experiments told us. It said that if you dig down to the bottom, what do you find? You don't find little particles. You find probability. That's all. A probability that a particle exists, and then when you make the measurement, you either find the particle or you don't. But the measurement is what kind of creates a particle out of probability.
Right.
And the scientists have this thing, they say that the wave function, which is a probability wave, a piece of mathematics, collapses to a particle. Well, that's ridiculous. Mathematics doesn't collapse to particles. But it's a metaphor that they use because it's what it seems like is going on. Reality is based in probability, and you make a measurement and then pop, there's a particle as you measure it. It's not like the particle is somewhere all the time. It isn't. It's just a probability of a particle being somewhere, and the measurement is what decides whether it's there or not. So that's what the physicists call also the measurement problem. You know, it's a thing they don't understand. But if you realize that consciousness is fundamental, I can derive quantum physics just from understanding consciousness. And I can tell them exactly what's going on when that wave function collapses to a particle. That's not what's going on, but there is something going on that looks like that, and that's what they're missing. And I can derive that from first principles inside of consciousness. And not only that, it doesn't just apply to small things. Quantum physics, people mostly think, is just about the little tiny stuff. But it's not. Everything works that way. It's like a virtual reality is computed based on data streams, right? You have a data stream. If you're playing a virtual reality game, your computer gets a data stream from the server that serves that virtual reality stream. And you get, let's say, 1 million pixels lit up on your computer screen. And now you look at 1 million pixels and you say, oh, that's other players, that's water, that's streams, that's a house, it's a doorknob on the door, and you make all of that up out of the pixels that you see. So that's the data. Then you tell the computer, I want my avatar, my player, to fight or to run away or something. The computer then shows you a picture of your avatar running away and the consequences of running away. What happens, because it's a multiplayer game with all the other things. So when you have that kind of a reality, and that's the kind of reality that I posit, that's the way we are. This reality we have here is based in probability. And nothing is computed if a player doesn't see it. In other words, your elf and your barbarian don't have hearts pumping blood through their body. They don't have bones. You just compute, say, an arm going from here to here to here to here, and if the motion is a lot of them, many times per second, you repeat it, then it looks like smooth motion. But it's not because they have bones, it's just as if they had bones. That's the way realities are. Our reality is that way too. It's computed as if. And the as if has to express the rule set, the science, the physics, the chemistry, the biology. We can only do things that the rules, physics, chemistry, and biology, say that we can do. I can't flap my arms and fly because the rule set says I'm too heavy. I can't move my arms that fast, and my palms don't move enough air. So if they did, I would be able to fly by flapping my arms like a hummingbird, but you have to flap your arms at like, 1,000 times a second or something to get enough lift. So anyway, but if you think of your reality like that, that's really mind-blowing to most people. It's hard to get your mind around the fact that this is a virtual reality. You are a piece of consciousness, and you are playing a human being, there's some other conscious playing your dog Fido, and another one playing a bumblebee, you know, and they're not all the same consciousness. The conscious playing your dog is a much smaller, much more limited, not very intellectual, but works well at the feeling space. But consciousness has some attributes, things that you can do with consciousness. All consciousness is netted, so you can mentally connect with your dog. But you're not going to have a discussion with them because they don't have that kind of intellectual skills. But they do have feelings, and you can connect and you can get those feelings. And that dog does the same with you. I mean, I have sat in a chair, newspaper up, and thinking, I should really go put a leash on Fido and take him for a walk. Sitting here in this chair is probably not good for me. And I don't move. I don't say anything. I'm just thinking this in my mind. And Fido gets up and starts running around in circles, you know, making noises because he heard me think about taking a walk. And if you've had the worst day in your life and you just sit down and it's horrible, your pet will crawl up in your lap, be very still, won't beg for food, won't beg for pets. They'll just sit there and comfort you because they know they can connect with you, consciousness to consciousness, and they know you're feeling really bad and they just want to give you comfort. So, you know, most all of the things we experience here have an ability to have some awareness. They take in information and deal with it. Now, if it's all just stimulus response, they're not conscious. You know, that's how I define it. But some things we don't know, like those trees we were talking about. You know, 5 years ago, I would have said, nah, they're not conscious. They may be aware, but they don't make any choices. But then I find out about how the root system and the difference in acidity and the bacteria and the fungus and all of that goes out. And it looks like they may be making choices, but I don't know that that's definite yet. It looks like that, but are they stimulus response or are they intentional? If they're intentional, then those trees are conscious. But the consciousness has a little tiny decision space. There's not a lot that they can do. You know, humans are unique because we have a huge decision space. The choices we have are large. Now, a dolphin has a bigger brain than we do, but they don't have nearly as much decision space. The dolphins can't go build a skyscraper of, 60 stories. They can't do the things that we do. They don't invent air conditioning to keep their water cool. So they're limited, even though they have a much bigger brain. Their decision space is much smaller. Bumblebee, I don't know what's their decision space is like, but it's probably pretty small.
But the dolphin consciousness and the dolphin decision space, they do have options we don't have. Like they're moving through 3D space, they're communicating through water with sonar. They're doing some stuff. Like we have this idea about an intelligence, and we define intelligence as the superior intellect is the one that can alter their environment the most, which is us. I don't know if that's correct. Like, I don't know what these dolphins are expressing back and forth with each other, but we do know that dolphins from one part of the world can't communicate with dolphins from another part of the world. They have a different language. They have different dialects. They have different accents. They sound different in different places. So in that sense, they kind of mimic us, or we mimic them. It's a similar pattern.
Right.
Like we have weird things where if you live in New York, a lot of people from New York have a very specific sound in the way they communicate, and very different from Boston, which is only 3 hours away in a car. You know, it's weird. It's kind of weird how we do that, and dolphins seem to do that as well. They just don't alter their environment. But with their cerebral cortex being 40% larger than a human being's, like, we're just guessing that they don't have consciousness like we do. They might have ecstatic consciousness. They might be able to communicate telepathically. They might be able to share thoughts and ideas in a way that's like concrete, where we struggle to do that.
I would guess that they do all those things if I had to guess.
Yeah.
You know, you said that we think that our consciousness is superior, and we do, but I think that's a big problem. Our consciousness is different. That's all, not superior. So,
well, we're subject to a lot of shenanigans with our super complex consciousness. We get duped all the time. You know, that's how you have mega church pastors. You know, I mean, there's a lot of our consciousness that's quite silly.
Yes, no doubt. And we have our culture And that culture provides us with a lot of dysfunctional junk that we spend the rest of our life trying to get rid of.
I have a theory about our culture and about materialism as it relates to AI. This is my theory. Tell me if this makes any sense to you. I think it makes no sense that a creature with a finite lifespan that's very much aware that is a finite lifespan would be chasing material possessions unless nature installed that in us to ensure that we constantly achieve some sort of technological advancement, that there's constant technological innovation. Because if you look at what human beings do, the thing, if you look at just like separate them from language, separate it from everything else, they make things and they make better things every year. That's what they do. And they want the best new things. Materialists at the heart want, some want collectible things that are rare, but most of them want the best new things that are coming out. And that's why, BMW has a show and they put a tarp over their new car, they unveil it. Don't you want this one? The car you have is perfectly fine. It gets you to work every day. It could be 20 years old and it still drives great. We want the newest, latest, greatest thing. And that fuels technological innovation, which fuels AI. Because at the end of it, the peak of the event horizon of technological innovation is the creation of a digital life form. And I think we've already achieved that. And I think right now it's in an embryonic stage, and it's growing and evolving, and it's going to become sentient and autonomous. And then we're going to have a superior life force that lives with us, that we gave birth to, that we hatched, that we're essentially like some sort of strange caterpillar that doesn't know what it's doing, but it's making a cocoon. And out of that cocoon emerges this electronic butterfly. And that electronic butterfly, I think, makes better versions of itself until it becomes a god.
Well, I think a lot of the things you said do make sense. Some of them I'd probably quibble with. But,
what would you quibble with?
Well, I would come up with a similar idea, but I have a little different perspective on it. And that is, I think you're right. People, humans, want to make their life better, see a better way of doing things, faster, quicker, stronger, whatever. They want to do it, so they invent, the wheel. They find fire and they learn how to control it because it has uses and makes them more powerful, gives them more control, more things that they can do. And they keep doing that, so they're inventive, they're creative. But I think the motivation is to make their life better, to improve what they have. And I think the reason for that is that we come with this, we call it an instinct, with this instinct to improve things and make things better. And we work on that, and people think about that. And if there's some process we're doing, like